So today you get to check out our home, our off-grid home. So sometimes we learn that you just have to like get out there and make things happen. Living out here has made it a lot easier to get more things done because we're not having to drive back and forth, and we can take breaks or eat dinner, and depending on the weather, get back out here. So we came out in a tent. This has been interesting. So Justin lived in a tent for 6 months, and then on the trail, and then we sold the camper out west when we knew we could get a little bit more bang for a buck for it a couple years ago. Maybe we should have kept it, who knows. But so we lived in a tent for about 4 months as we continued to travel and make our way back home from the Oregon coast. So we knew we could do this in the summer. So like I said, we moved out in June. We knew, as wet as it is, like, look at all this, it's dried up now because we've had about 5 days of sun. But when it rains, we're definitely in the swamp. So we knew in order to keep ourselves dry that we needed to build up. So we just laid out a platform out of pallets, and underneath the majority of the tent, we laid out some plywood there to raise us up. And one thing I wasn't willing to compromise on was the bed. So we actually have our king size bed in here. I'll do a video one day maybe. We just have like boxes. I mean, it's junky, guys. Like, we're camping and trying to build. So like everything's a mess. We brought our plants out. The plants have been struggling with all the rain. We planted so many vegetables and things for a garden. And because of lack of sunlight and so much rain, nothing produced. So what was our garden has turned into like the storage space for supplies. Yeah. So, trying to think here. We got this metal kennel fence for the dog for when we weren't here. And it didn't come with all of its parts. So we improvised and used the gate and built this out of free stuff that we grabbed at Lowe's, like pallets. And the little dog house, cat house, is actually made out of pallets too. We did the same thing with the roof. The roof metal here came off the road. We put a tarp underneath it for leaks. It's got an air vent there. We actually put a gutter that was found on the road. So reducing, reusing, recycling, and that collects rainwater into the animal's drinking bowl because we've had so much rain. We laugh. We spend a lot of time in doing this, and Pokey hates it. So, and tries to chew his way out there. Not sure how much it was worth it. Had some issues with the tent. Everybody wants to know like how we're doing rain-wise and stuff. Really the tent's done fine in itself, but we had some vandalism before we were out here living, and the tent was up, which was really hard on the heart. But instead of tossing the tent and buying a new one, because this one was practically brand new from our travels, we taped it up with some tent tape, and it's actually held pretty well. And then we used some like rain guard spray, like that you put on like clothes and stuff to waterproof them. Sprayed the whole tent with it, and it's done really well. We haven't had any leaks until recently, and that's just because we've been out here for a handful of months and it's taking a beating in the weather. Our animals have done the most damage to it, so that taped up net right there, little poke in there. It was the first day we left him here, and he clawed his way out of his little playpen and clawed his way into the tent. As you can see, he likes the bed there. So we now have a permanent dog door. We've had a chipmunk in there that the cats brought in, and a frog that jumped in the other night, but other than that, we haven't had any animals. This was a tear, not from the vandalism, but one night we had the light on in here, and which made the bugs visible to the cat. So all of a sudden we look up and the cat is literally on the side of the tent with his nails sliding down as it ripped. So we patched that. But yeah, for the most part, we've stayed dry. The humidity this time of the season is the worst. So now we're starting to wake up. The air's getting cooler. Humidity's getting more. And we're waking up to everything kind of being damp. So if it's not in our plastic boxes, like all of our clothes are in totes underneath the bed there. You can kind of see, like, that's my dirty clothes pile there on top of that plastic box. That plastic box is for things to be worn the next day. Dirty clothes on top because they get a little damp. Mud has been hell with the animals, but we're making do with the laundromat. So this is our little living area here. Sprayed the awning with the same rain guard stuff, so it's helped a little bit. The bugs have been terrible, so we haven't done a whole lot of late nights out here. Little pallet. Normally there's a dog bed here for the animals to lay on. They get more space than we do. Initially, we had that table there set up as like the kitchen, but a round table didn't work too well. There wasn't much space. Everything kept getting moved to the center. So that's now what we call the office. And Justin built this little makeshift kitchen for us. So it's out of pallets, random pieces of wood. Yeah, like just kind of thrown together to make things happen. Again, the roof to kind of let us cook in the rain a little bit was tin roofing that we found on the road. All the pallets we just picked up for free here locally. It's nice that we get pallets for free. Scrap 2x4s that were just leftover pieces from the bathhouse or compost house build. He just put here, and you'll see we did like this random thing. So like the boards aren't anchored in, but they're secured this way so we can take the screws out and use any of these materials again. So we didn't want to lock them in place, but we needed them to be a little sturdy. I think we got the sink off the yard sale site, so that's nice to have something to wash dishes in. And you see these plumbing down here. So the dishwater goes into that chum bucket there. We just have to take the lid off. All the food scraps go in there, and that goes into compost. He had tried, he's the little inventor, so he had tried to hook us up like a pump to hook up to water, so we had like a functioning sink, but it just hadn't worked too well, and we decided we'll give it another go some other time. We've got to get the house built. This wasn't nice though. The pallet kind of started taking on its own character, telling us where to put things, so it just naturally had this shelf. So he put me, when I noticed that, he put a little board here. These little screws keep everything from like sliding out, and again we can take the screws out, use these boards somewhere else. We just used a stick. This is my favorite. We just used a branch that was already cut down, nailed it up there to hang the pots and stuff. Did a little cooking to begin with. Once the rain really hit, it's hard to cook outside in the rain. So we learned kind of like pepperoni, crackers, trail foods, what we call it. But we were given this Blackstone, and it's been the best. We've actually done frozen pizzas on there. And chicken nuggets, and like everything you think you need to do in an oven, we've done on the Blackstone. And that's been quick, easy, and our favorite. We initially had this as a cook stove. Haven't cooked a whole lot on it. We did the first night some hot dogs, but we pretty much burn anything that we can put in compost here, and just enjoy the fire. This will be, we've had to clean it up once. The elements have gone in. You see all the rust. We'll have to clean it up again, but that's going to be our heat in the house. So this setup here, all the neighbors keep telling us about a bear. We know there's a bear around, but we haven't seen it yet. Fortunately, we've been lucky. But we wanted to create kind of like a bear box for our food, to not draw them into us. And one of the benefits of having a dog is that the bear's going to stay away more than likely. But so we found this on the yard sale site on Facebook for pretty cheap. It's just like a tool, a truck bed toolbox, and we put all of our food down there. That looks dirty there. That's just scrapes on the metal. And it's worked really well. It stayed super dry. We had a problem with ants and the sugar for the coffee, and since putting things in here, it's done pretty good. So that's just kind of like our storage. That's our water. We fill it up with ice to keep cold drinking water there. 2 coolers. So red cooler has sucked, and this is our favorite. We got this when we were camping, traveling, and it does really great. It's comparable to a Yeti, but not. And so yeah, we've just filled things with ice and left it there. In the last month, where we've been really hyper building, trying to beat the weather with getting the house done, we haven't kept a whole lot in here. We've lucked out with both of our jobs, have refrigerators. So really anything cold and stuff, we just kind of take there. And then like I have my breakfast supplies at work. He has his breakfast supplies at work. Or we can make ice to bring in here. So again, it's all about like when you don't have the money, it's about creativity and using every inch of your resources here. And like I said, kind of looks like a junkyard, but that's what happens when you're living off grid, using your resources and building or working constantly. So this tent here is pretty cool. My dad had it left over from when I was young, when I was like 10, so it's old. But we sprayed it with that water resistant spray again and kind of brought it back to life and used it as our, I'm not going to open up the door and show you, but it's our tool shed. So it's got all of our tools, everything that we need out here, our generator and stuff in it. We actually put a lock on it, so that's pretty cool. And yeah, so it houses all the things that we need to keep dry, that we need out here. So, I mean, we've got scrap stuff, like that's a mirror for the bathhouse. It's going to go down sometime. Everybody wants to know how we're charging anything. So we've got the solar box right here that Justin created, and our solar panels over there. Works great. I think we're at 500 amps, so he had created this system for our camper, and so we knew how to do it. So it runs our laptops, charges our phones, runs lights and things like that. Maybe I can talk him into sharing a video with you all one day of how he creates this, but it does well. We lived off of it for 1.5 years in the camper. Never went without. Like, it ran everything we needed. We were given I have a big blender that we have to use the generator for, and some of the power tools we have to use the generator for. But this thing will actually charge like batteries for any of the cordless drills and things like that, which has been really nice. But yeah, it's worked really good. We haven't had to use the generator much, pretty much for we've got a shop vac that we use to clean out this thing, the dirt and the mud all the time, and we've got to run the generator for it. Still spinning around, trying to think. That's really it, guys. That's our home. That's how things are working. You got a hornet on there right now. Yeah, so we'll show you around a little bit more at a later date.